Welcome to my senior presentation. I will be presenting to you about my summer internship and my musical arrangements. This summer, I did an internship as a repair tech at Roper Music here in town. During my time there, I learned a lot from how to properly assess damage to a horn to how to go about fixing it. I got to help with estimates on horn repairs, and I spent most of my time dealing with rental returns and getting them ready to be rented again. I personally got to work on student model trumpets, baritones, trombones, alto saxophones, and clarinets. I picked this internship because I wanted to learn something I could do in the music industry that is often overlooked but is extremely important. Instrument repair is something that will always be needed, making it a good trade to learn. Working in Roper all summer opened my eyes to a future in instrument repair as a valid option for my future music business. Within instrument repair, I could work in repair shops, own my own small repair shop business. I could work for a music studio as their studio repair tech, or I could own a mobile tech repair business and bring my shop with me anywhere I needed. Ultrasonic baths are how I deep cleaned the brass instruments and the saxophones. The ultrasonic bath is a large bathtub-shaped machine that uses high-frequency sound waves to break down dirt, debris, grease, and anything else from the horn. I would use this after giving a horn a lava soap bath and get out everything that I couldn't. When using the ultrasonic bath, you want to make sure you are wearing gloves while putting the instrument in and pulling it out. If I chose to watch the instrument in the bath, I would wear hearing protection because it gets very loud in there. Most of the time, we would put a horn in there and leave the back room for a few minutes and just go in once the horn was done in order to protect our hearing. And then this is a trumpet and a baritone in the bath. This summer, I worked with a handful of chemicals. Seth and Patrick at the shop helped teach me about chemical safety and how to not hurt myself while using them. On my first day, I spent the whole first half learning about each and every chemical used in the shop and how to properly handle them and what to do if I got them on my skin or in my eyes. I worked with chemicals such as degreaser, adhesive, epoxy, lacquer, polish, cement thinner, lapping compound, silver cream, acetone, power brass, tarnish remover, and denatured alcohol. I would use these chemicals for cleaning horns and for the pads and the cork glue. The glue was made in shop by using a mix of chemicals. I got to help make a batch of glue during my time at Roper. Recorking. There are many parts of woodwinds that need cork. I got to recork alto saxophones and clarinets this summer. The different types of cork you will work with on woodwinds are neck, key, and tenon cork. And in the photo you see tenon cork. But other times you have to recork the whole horn or recork a whole clarinet tenon. When you recork a clarinet tenon, you use the thickest cork in the shop because if you don't, there won't be a tight enough seal between the pieces of the clarinet, and then you will have air leaks and you will have to start over. To start recorking a tenon, you start by fully removing the damaged cork. Then you size out the replacement cork and you shape down one side of the replacement cork so it has room to overlap and seal. Then you put the glue mixture on the cork and you put the glue on the clarinet tenon. You let the glue dry slightly before you place the new cork on the tenon. You then apply pressure to seal the cork to one another. Once that's done, you have to sandpaper down the overlap so it's smooth. Then you test the cork to make sure it fits in with the other clarinet piece. If it does, then you add some cork grease to the new cork and it's good to go. If the new cork doesn't fit, you continue to sand it down little by little and keep checking if it fits into the other clarinet piece. You keep checking if it fits because if you sand it down too far, you have to start completely over or it won't seal correctly between the pieces. All woodwinds have pads. There are two main types of pads, bladder pads and leather pads. There are two kinds of leather pads, without resonators or with resonators, which are a metal or nylon disc that sits in the center of the pad. Bladder pads are found on clarinets, flutes, piccolos, and some oboe keys. Leather pads with resonators are used on the large pads on saxophones and bass clarinets. Leather pads without resonators are used on the smaller keys of bass and alto clarinets and on all the keys of a bassoon. Woodwinds also have metal and cork tenons. Cork tenons are seen on clarinets, while metal tenons are seen on flutes. Tenons hold the instrument together. If a metal tenon is damaged, you have to undent it and realign it so it fits together again. Bent keys were a problem I would see a lot on a lot of the clarinets I worked on. To fix the bent keys, I would use pliers to unbend the key, and I would keep using them on the key until it was bent back to being playable. There are two different kinds of springs you will see on woodwinds, flat and needle springs. Flat springs are attached to certain keys and needle springs are attached to the horn and make the keys playable. Needle springs are called needle springs because they have a pointy end that will stick you if you aren't careful. I got to replace both kinds of springs during my internship. The woodwinds I worked on mainly needed new pads, new cork put on them, and had bent keys needing to be fixed. Many brass instruments have valves. The two kinds of valves are piston and rotary valves. You will see piston valves on trumpets, cornets, flugelhorns, mellophones, baritones, euphoniums, sousaphones, and some tubas. You will see rotary valves on French horns, the F attachment on trombones, and some tubas. Piston valves move up and down using a spring, while rotary valves spin in their casing and are moved by strings on the rotor. I got to repair multiple valves on trumpets. The ones I worked on were dented or stuck. If it was dented, I would undent them using a mandrel to reopen the valve casing so the valve had room to move. All brass instruments have a slide of some sort. Trombone slides are used to change the pitch of the trombone. There are also tuning slides and valve slides. Slides would have to be adjusted so they moved easily. If a slide was stuck, I would use penetrating oil that would slowly start to break down the gunk that was holding the slide in place. This would usually make it so I could pull the stuck slide out. The water keys allow the condensation built up by playing to be released from the inside of the horns. I would have to replace the pad and the water keys on the trumpets I repaired. Dent work is a big part of repairing brass. Getting a dent out of a horn involves using tools like a dent rod, a slide lock roller, mandrels, magnetic dent balls, and more advanced ones that I did not use. I got to help remove simple dents from trumpet and trombone slides, and I got to watch more complicated dents get taken out of trombones and baritones. Woodwinds will also have dents repaired, but most woodwind dents don't affect the playability of the horn. I worked on multiple different instruments this summer, but I became most comfortable on clarinets. The first thing you do when working on a clarinet is you take off all the keys, you place the screws into the screw board so you know what every screw goes to, then you clean every key individually by wiping them down. During this process, you look to see what key cork needs to be replaced and if any pads need to be replaced. Then you wipe down every screw and apply key oil to them. If a key needs new cork, you scrape the damaged cork off with a razor blade, and then you apply the glue on the key and the cork and let it dry a little. Then you apply the new cork to the key and let it dry fully. Then you take a fresh razor blade and make the cork fit perfectly around the key. If you need to repad a key, you want to remove the old pad and glue by applying heat to the key and grabbing the pad out with pliers, then wiping the glue residue out. You have to be careful during this or you will burn yourself. When you put in the new pad, you apply new glue to the key and heat it up to get the glue to cover the whole key. Then you put the pad in, and you spin the pad around until it doesn't move anymore. After that, you take the keyless clarinet in its case and you give them a lukewarm bath in soap and water, and then you dry them off carefully to not lose any springs. You want to make sure you fully dry everything off or the water will mess with the pads when you put the keys back on. After all of this, you finally get to put back together the clean clarinet. Once everything is back in place, you have to play test the horn to, one, make sure it plays, but to also make sure all the pads are set in place. If a pad is leaking air, you use a clamp to hold the pads down to give them a new seal, and then you play test again to make sure everything is good. Then the clarinet is ready to be put back on the shelf and rented to a new renter. And then this is a video of a full clarinet service. started arranging music officially during my orchestration and arranging class. This was my favorite class I took while working towards my degree. Before this, I had only arranged music for just me and not music for a group of people. Throughout that class, I learned a lot from how to not write music for certain instruments to how to arrange music for big groups of musicians. My final for this class was an arrangement of Val Sedimental by Tchaikovsky. My arrangement had 19 playing parts and was 154 measures. Doing this arrangement set the foundation for my future arrangements. And then during my arts management class, I had the opportunity to interview Sarah Singer, who is the current owner of Grand Mesa Strings, which is a string music publishing company. She talked to me about how to go about getting my arrangements published and when they are ready and how small business publishing works. Within arranging, I could sell my arrangements, I could arrange for chamber ensembles or school programs, or I could create jingles for acts. I started arranging my bass lines for guitar ensemble. I started this with the help of Eric, my guitar professor. He showed me how to make walking bass lines. To make a simple but effective walking bass line, you walk up or down the scale of the chord you are on, and before you swap chords, the last note you play is a half step above or below the new chord. After that, I arranged a walking bass line for every song we did in ensemble. Now I don't have to arrange it on paper because I can do it in my head, which will help me in my future of bass playing. Here's an example of one of my walking bass lines for the song Chinatown, My Chinatown. I chose to arrange the Turtles song Happy Together. This is a song that has many different covers by different musicians, including Graham Bonney in 1967, Jason Donovan in 1991, Simple Plan in 2004, and Gerard Way and Ray Toro of My Chemical Romance in 2019. I started this arrangement with all guitar parts and slowly changed them out for different instruments like violin, banjo, and bass guitar. Another song I chose to arrange is Lord Heron's song, The Night We Met. I first heard this song while watching 13 Reasons Why, and I have loved it ever since. This song was different from any other song I have arranged because every other measure is a different time signature. It goes from 9/8 to 12/8 to 9/8 and so on. This song was the most challenging to arrange. My first version of this song didn't have violin playing the vocal part, but it made the most sense to change the arrangement and have violin on the vocals and have the guitars backing. The final song I chose to arrange for this presentation is The Craving by 21 Pilots. This song came out in May of this year, and I instantly wanted to arrange a version of it. The original version is vocals and ukulele, and I arranged it for guitar and violin. My first version of this arrangement didn't have pizzicato in the violin part, but while playing it, Barb added it in, and it fit so well, we added it into the final arrangement. my time in the Colorado Mesa Music Department, I have learned an array of things from music tech to music history to music theory. When I started school here, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my future. I just knew it was something involving music. I now have a better grasp on a realistic future in music with instrument repair and arranging. I want to thank Eric No for taking me on as a student and helping me discover my potential with guitar and bass, and for always helping me when I needed it. And I want to thank Barb, Dale, and Gandy for helping me bring my arrangements to life. And I also want to thank my mom and my family for supporting me throughout my whole college career. Thank you.